All right. Welcome back to the Starfighter podcast. It has been a while since we got to do the 6 p.m. episodes, and also it's been a little while since I had my two regular co-hosts on the show. But yeah, joined here by joined here with Ethan and Jake. How are you guys doing?
I'm all right. I'm okay.
You know, I'm breathing, so
I mean,
that's
I
good.
I
I'm
can't be the only
alive.
one. I can't be the only one excited to talk about Spider-Man tonight.
I'm pretty
Yeah.
excited. Yeah, I'm trying to remember everything. It kind of feels like a flash now, like with everything crazy that happened. So we'll see how
Yeah,
that goes.
Yeah, it feels
and
like I just studied for a test and then I came in and I forgot everything that happened. So
Yeah.
there's too much.
I'm sure the viewers will remind us of things too. So thank you guys for tuning in. Of course, drop a like and join us in the conversation in the live chat. Definitely want to hear your guys' thoughts, rate the movie as well. Let me get the music rolling real quick. And as I do that, guys, before we get into things, maybe if there's anything like noteworthy or exciting, because it's been a while since I've done a show with Ethan and Jake. Anything exciting going on in your guys' lives? Let the people know about it. Anything cool going on?
I got a new PC, so I'm actually on like a legit setup now. And unlike the last stream I did, my PC won't catch on fire. So I'm all set.
That's a good thing. That's
Yeah.
a good thing.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good thing in my life. So
Yeah,
Jake, what about
essential.
you?
Yeah, nothing's been going on with me, man. Just been waiting all year for Spider-Man, and it came, and I saw it 3 times, and that's the highlight of my
that's
life right there. So.
yeah, it's the
Very
highlight of
nice.
my.
I mean, let's talk about it. Also, shout out to Today is Tuesday. He says, I'm something of a subscriber myself. That is a brilliant comment, and I'm sure we'll touch back on that comment later. But can you guys all hear the music okay?
I don't hear it right now.
How about now?
Mm-mm. No, I heard it for a second when it was on screen, and then it disappeared, just like my memory on this movie.
I'll fix that real quick. And here we go. I think we're back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
It's alive.
Well, let's get into it. And if you didn't get it from the the thumbnail already, this is a spoiler heavy review. So hopefully you have already seen the movie if you're joining us tonight.
Oh crud! I haven't seen it yet.
Oh, shoot.
But we are gonna get into spoilers, so you have been warned. Let's
God
do
dang
it.
it. So tell me how the movie was, guys.
Yeah, let's start out with everyone's experience first. 'Cause for me, I haven't been to a lot of movies this year, obviously, with the pandemic going on. I think it's been this and Shang-Chi, and I think that's it. But Jake, how was your experience with the theater?
It was actually it was what I wanted, which was quiet. The first time I went to go see it was on Friday at 11 a.m. So it was in the morning, like nobody. And I went to like a theater that, like in a nice area that's very like spaced out and it has only like half capacity. So
Nice.
for me it was so it was really nice. I got to like hear everything, which was really cool. And then I also was the only person like laughing and clapping in the theater. So that was really awkward, and no one got any of like those lines. Like Today is Tuesday, when that was said, I laughed so hard, dude, and nobody else like It was just crickets. So for me, it was interesting. It was how I wanted to watch it, and it's been like that all 3 times I actually seen the movie. So, and I've been to the same movie theater, so it's just that theater is just quiet folks, I think.
On Friday, it was just a bunch of people on like a business meeting, and it was like they're all on their lunch. They're like, "Hey, I got a spot." And they just take them to see Spider-Man at like 11.
That's pretty much what it felt like. It was
Yeah.
it was interesting. It was really weird, but I enjoyed it. It was cool.
Nice. What about your experience, Ethan?
It was immaculate. No, I loved it. I I got like the full Marvel fanboy treatment when I saw it. So it was a packed out theater. And I don't know if you guys know like the Cine Capri theaters, but they're like big. Like it's just a really big screen. And it was literally packed out on Thursday at like 7 p.m. So it was like the first, like one of the first showings. It probably was the first showing at that theater. Um, and it was insane. Like everyone was going crazy. Everyone was going crazy, and that's like that was my gauge for when something cool was happening. Was everyone would start like screaming? Because I went to the movie like not expecting like anything that I wanted. So every time something crazy happened, everyone was just like screaming, going crazy. And it was super cool. I loved it.
Nice. Yeah, I was saying off stream to the guys that I I haven't experienced like this much hype with the crowd and in the theater since Last Jedi, and part of that is to kind of troll, and because I know there's a lot of Last Jedi haters out there, but at the same time, it is 100% true. Like that was the last time I remember the crowd going crazy in the theater that I was in, and I was just like, I mean, I was super excited um, to be there and to have that experience because um, I think we kind of like a lot of us like adapted to having the movie experience, with just ourselves or family and friends at home, like through the pandemic, quite a bit. I know I definitely invested in getting a good setup here at home. Um, but like going to the theater has always been like about those experiences for me too. So it was just like really nice to have that again.
Yeah, for sure. I think, yeah, the only time you see people go as crazy like this is at like a crazy big Marvel movie or like a Star Wars movie.
Yeah.
And yeah, kind of like what you're saying. Like, I think it might have been Last Jedi or it might have been Force Awakens. I think Force Awakens was the last time anyone got like nearly as close to my experience. But like, this was like on a whole other level. Like, I wish I saw Endgame at like a time where like everyone was there. But I think this is kind of like the same, you know, the same level. And it was super fun because yeah, it's an experience that you won't get at home. And I think that's the thing with that Marvel wanted with putting Spider-Man like only in theaters, and same thing with Shang-Chi even. It's like that's something you're only gonna get at the theater, and it's unmatched. So
Definitely. But all right, guys, let's dive into it. Let's kind of stick with the first section of the movie. Um, I think right off the bat, like I'll just say that this movie is not without its flaws, but I don't feel like there's a whole lot of them. I feel like so much of the movie worked so well, um, and I guess just like since we're starting in at the beginning, um, really my only complaint is that I felt like sometimes like the first act was like a little bit shaky with its pacing, and especially when it was kind of like giving more context for like what was going on with um, Peter at the beginning and him dealing with everyone like the world knowing his identity and the school as well. Um, but and just like the pacing, like I mentioned, getting to that from that point to casting the spell and like finding the villains, I felt like sometimes the pacing was a little bit weird, but really like that's not a very big complaint, and that's kind of like my only issue. I pretty much loved everything else, but um Yeah, Ethan, what do you think about the first part of the movie? Any big takeaways? We can jump right in.
I think kind of like what you said is like the pacing is a little awkward, but I think mainly it gets overshadowed with still how like cool like it was insane like throughout the first act. Like they had really good like fan service literally the entire movie. Um so but yeah, I think there's kind of like a weird disconnect between going on this hunt for all these villains, but also like dealing with Spider-Man and like his identity and all that. Like it kind of went from like 0 to like 100 like very quickly. Like it shifted to that different pace of the movie, like kind of abruptly, and then it didn't really get picked up like in between. Because I think that was the funny thing is like the first act is like all about him, like his identity, and then the
Yeah.
rest of it kind of gets lost. Like once he sees Doctor Strange and all that, and they start doing their thing, like that's kind of like lost throughout the movie. Like no one's really talking about it. I think literally up to the point where he goes and fights Doc Ock, like that's all about what the movie's about, and then like kind of you forget all about it. But yeah, no, I thought it was great. Like I think the way they set everything up like worked really well, and there's some really good cameos even in that first act that are definitely forgotten. And yeah, no, I loved it. I think it set up the rest of the movie really well. So
Yeah, I was gonna say you mentioned fan service, and that is a big thing in this movie. But um, I felt like when you compare it to something like The Rise of Skywalker, this was fan service done right, like the correct way. Because if you think back to that example, and we'll also touch on Last Jedi again for just a second, and then I'll move on. The fan service that they gave us in Rise of Skywalker was so much of like undoing certain things, like that they thought the audience didn't like in Last Jedi. But that kind of fan service just made things even more weird, whether you like Last Jedi or not. It just made everything more weird in that universe. The fan service that they gave us here with Marvel, and hats off to Kevin Feige and John Watts, all the writers and stuff. But the fan service that they gave us here just like expanded on the universe and really expanded on the last two movies from Homecoming and Far From Home here with Tom Holland's Spider-Man and his story. So this is like fan service done right is what I'm trying to say.
and it's fan service across 3 different franchises basically. And
Yeah, that's
they
true.
did it like perfectly. Like they never, and they did it like it was like subtle too. Like I know Jay was talking about like before, like you'd be laughing at like random stuff like in the movie and it'd just be dropped like like subtly, and you'd just be like, oh, like that's perfect. And it like worked with the story like really well. And yeah, I think they did a great job on it. They definitely thought about it a lot. So
yeah, Jake, jump in here. Thoughts on the beginning of the movie?
It was interesting. I don't know. I kind of didn't really like that this whole movie happened just because he wanted to get into MIT. So that kind of was like, there's a lot of different colleges out there that'll probably accept you, bro. You can go out of state. But so, and it just kind of, it was okay. It just kind of seemed, the movie was great. And I loved what happened because of his childish mistakes or, not knowing certain things. But it was good. I loved Matt Murdock and the fan service that they did. I mean, I don't get how people could get upset with like about fan service. There's fan service, and then there's like legit fan service, where legit fan service is like fans want this to happen and then they do it. There's like some fan services, like you said, where they think that the audience kind of wants something and then they throw it in there, but no one really kind of wants it. But I think like this movie gave everybody everything that they wanted. So
Yeah,
the
and it
pacing
served a
was
bigger
good.
purpose too. Like it
Yeah.
actually fit the story perfectly. It all made
Yeah.
sense. It wasn't just like them hitting us over the head with certain things just because they could,
Yeah.
I think
But
fan service is like having those things. Like we know what we want, but it's them. Like they know it too. Like they're fans of this. They know what they want in the story.
Yeah.
It's them doing that and then exceeding those expectations. which I think they did throughout the whole movie. Like everything that we wanted was better than like I thought it would be. Like in the final, like the way they did it, like it was just perfect. Like I think everyone knew like the odds of Daredevil like coming into the story or something like that. But the way they did it was like perfect, and it didn't overshadow anything in the story. But it's just like he's back, he's Daredevil. Like that was like perfect, and they just left it there. And they do that like they do that throughout the movie. Like they give you all these little things, and it's like it's still there, you know. And I think they did it perfectly. Like
yeah, it fit really well, and yeah, we can definitely touch on that a little bit more too with Charlie Cox officially coming into the MCU. And of course, I think he plays the role of Matt Murdock and Daredevil just like so well. And also, Daredevil is like one of my favorite superheroes. I've told this before, but like growing up, like I would watch the original animated Spider-Man series, and my favorite was there's this 2-part episode which my dad got me on VHS, but it was the Daredevil, it was Daredevil and Spider-Man teaming up, and I just like played that over and over because it was so cool. But of course, it's just, again, it made perfect sense because Spider-Man, the two of them have a connection and have teamed up so many times in like comic book history. And the two of them, they also share very similar powers, or like especially with heightened senses and reflexes and stuff too. But what's cool is to like kind of speculate and imagine where they could take this version of Daredevil. And also, we don't quite know if it's going to be exactly the same. I'd venture to say that it's going to be a little bit different from the Netflix series, which I'm kind of excited about too, because if you think about it, like just him catching the brick so fast, like it felt more MCU, and like maybe it was like maybe this will show us like a little bit different version of Daredevil that relies more on his powers than like than I think like in the show it's a little bit more like the hand-to-hand combat, but like Daredevil can also do like acrobatic stuff like Spider-Man as well. Like it
and he did it faster, and like that's the funny thing too I was thinking about, as I'm like he has more experience with these powers than Peter does.
Yeah,
like
because
like
Peter
he
didn't even like sense it really.
Yeah, like he sensed it as the brick was coming. Like as the brick was coming.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, and yeah, I'm super excited for it. I haven't seen Daredevil yet. Like that's the one thing, is like I've been wanting to watch it now. But I'm like, I think the way they're gonna incorporate him is super, like it fits really well with where Peter is too. Which is why I was also like thinking about it later. I was like, where Peter ends in this movie, like everything going on, I'm like, that would be a super cool place for Daredevil to like come back in to some extent, like somehow down the line. And I think just as like a figure, like in those movies would be super cool. So
yeah, maybe we can talk about the villains now, and
Easter egg.
I
have an Easter egg for you, bro.
Easter egg.
Throw it in there.
Full circle. Jon Favreau is having banter again with Daredevil, which he was doing back in the 2000s with what's his face, right? With that original Daredevil. So yeah, Ben Affleck, Batfleck. So I just thought that was really funny. They said a couple of things too that were just like cracked me up. I loved it. Like that's just how they talked in the old
I'm a good
movie.
Lawyer line.
Yeah, and they always like kind of argued with each other.
I'm a really good lawyer.
It was good. It was good.
Anyways, but yeah, I just thought that was funny. It was cool to see him talking to a new Daredevil. So it was interesting. Yeah.
But yeah, let's talk about the villains. And, even before that, I'll just say, like, I mean, the villains definitely stood out, like all the different actors. But that was just like another highlight of this movie, is that the acting is just so good. Like no one really drops the ball. Everyone is like so on point. And yeah, we could definitely talk about that when it comes to the actors. that played the villains. And for me, Willem Dafoe as Goblin and Alfred Molina, I think, were the strongest. But yeah, how'd they work out for you guys? What do you think, Jake?
The villains, I loved them. It was fantastic. They corrected their wrongs that they made, obviously, in Amazing Spider-Man. Jamie Foxx looks way better. And yeah, you're right. I really wish they would have given more time to Lizard and Sandman.
Don't get
Just
me
so-
started on Blizzard.
Dude, here's the thing, bro, is that like they didn't
My
even
boy's
show
so
the actor
dirty.
again.
They did. I'm so dirty.
Okay, so that one of your complaints about the movie?
Yeah,
Well, one of my
yeah.
yeah, dude. One of my complaints is they literally reused like the film from Amazing Spider-Man for him turning back into his human self after he there was some
I think
things in this movie.
I caught that too. Yeah.
Yeah, there were some things where I was like, okay, you guys, that was a little sloppy. Like you guys handled it a little sloppy, but freaking Green Goblin was, oh my goodness,
It shouldn't have worked that well. If you think about it, it shouldn't have really worked that well. You would never would have guessed that version, because
And
you
just
know,
how it
we've talked
played out,
about this.
too.
Yeah, we talked about it before too on previous episodes, but like, you know, I know a lot of people really love the Sam Raimi Spider-Man, but they don't age very well in comparison to what we have now. And I think his portrayal of Goblin in the Sam Raimi films in particular, like sometimes it's just too over the top and like back to formula. Like it's just like it's too much. And like, but it worked. And I don't know. It's just like, of course, you've got different writers and directors. And yeah, it was great.
I think he came back like 10 times better, dude. Like, honestly, my take, I think this version of Green Goblin is the best villain in the MCU. Like, I think he's literally perfect in this movie. Like, the way they set him up and everything. But give me a minute on my boy, dude, you have no idea. It's like one of the only CDs I have in my house, okay? Is of that Amazing Spider-Man movie. I love that movie, okay? I loved Andrew Garfield, but I freaking love the Lizard for like any reason. They gave him a bit of a makeover in this movie. I'll give him that. Okay.
I didn't like it.
I didn't like it either. They gave him like a weird square jaw for some reason. It's like, Dom, remember that cartoon that we watched when, like the Spider-Man cartoon we always talk about, like that lizard? That's the lizard I loved, and that's why I love the Lizard. They it's like they were morphing him into that. They got like 30 minutes in and stopped. Yeah.
Animorph.
They got like 30 minutes in and then just stopped. And
it looked bad.
I was so mad with him like the entire movie. Because in Amazing Spider-Man, like and this is the issue too, is like all of these villains, or most of them, are like really crazy like scientists. Like they're crazy smart, all of that, like they're super like intelligent. The Lizard is too. That's the thing that made, like, he's super smart. Like and they made him just like some crazy monster, like just like almost brainless in a way.
Yeah, they made him a little dumb too.
Yeah, he was kind of stupid. He just like he was always just jumping and like missing and doing terrible. He didn't land like one hit, like ever. At least in the other one, he tore up Andrew Garfield. Like he tore him up. In this movie, I don't even think he might have scratched Tom Holland. He might have scratched him at best.
Also, real quick, guys, you know, our live viewers, be sure to rate the movie. Definitely comment in the live chat. But of course, we want to hear your guys' hot takes on some of these things, and give us your thoughts, and we will put your comments up on the live screen.
So
yeah, Jake.
I gotta talk to Ethan about this as well, because here's what we didn't see. The best Lizard scene in the entire movie we did not get to see.
I know when he was fighting Spider-Man in that room, dude.
No,
Or-
not even that, dude.
no,
When
oh,
he
God
was
dang it.
when he first gets there, dude, and you see Doctor Strange when he shows up after he just captures him, he's
Yeah.
beat up, dude. Like he's bleeding from his cheek. Like, dude, Lizard jacked Doctor
I
Strange
know.
up in the sewer, and we didn't get to see like
That would have
any
been
of
dope,
that.
actually.
I
I would have
would
been
love to
okay
see
with
that.
if we saw that. I would have been okay with Lizard, but no. You're telling me
Wait, so
he
what?
beats
What was
up
the scene
Doctor
that we
Strange?
missed?
So, like what Jake was saying, when Doctor Strange comes in and he's talking about how he found this like weird thing in the sewer and is talking about the lizard, he's all beat up and bleeding and like the lizard tore him up in the sewer.
Oh, okay.
So,
But
like,
none of that was seen at all. And then he proceeds to miss every shot on all of these Spider-Man, doesn't do anything.
he
I
just
was
throws
so
Peter
mad,
through a
dude.
window. That's
Yeah.
all he does.
Dude,
That's
want to
all
play the
he
other thing? Is when I would have been okay with this too. When I kind of wish they did it, but when Spider-Man like went through the portal to like save like MJ and like Ned and all that because the lizard was like jumping at him. Dude, they could have done that same almost like library scene that they did in Amazing Spider-Man, and I
Yeah.
thought that's what was gonna happen. I was like, dude, that would be so sick.
When they were
But
in the
no.
lab, right?
Yeah, but that's the other thing. In that scene, like the lizard is smart. Like when he's fighting, like he's like goes like mad scientist. Like he's mixing stuff. Like he's being smart about everything. Like he's like he fights with like a meaning. Like there's a meaning to it, and he's like smart. And so that's why I thought that movie was cool, is because it's like these guys are smart, but they have like crazy abilities and stuff. And this movie, every scene you see him in, he's just jumping, clawing at the air, missing every time. And I'm like, they did him so dirty. And I was just like, I was pissed, dude. I was so mad. Because I'm like, the worst thing is every other villain they did perfectly. Like they did perfectly. Sandman, they could have maybe done better, but that's just Sandman. Like I wasn't expecting much out of Sandman. Okay.
Yeah.
But the lizard, I'm like, they gave the lizard a whole movie to be a villain. He comes back, and they did Electro better than him. And I'm like, are you kidding me?
I know. How does that even make sense?
Yeah.
Like what?
We're in the universe where Electro's in a movie with two other villains. He got redeemed like perfectly. Like they set him up good. Like Jamie Foxx did great. They did a great job with Electro. They did a great job with all the other villains. But then they got to Lizard and they just like threw it out the window. And I was so mad. I was like, okay. I was so, because I love what they did with that movie so much. And then they just tossed it. And I was like, okay. Because it's like, it's the same. Like, when I saw that movie, I had no clue Lizard was going to be the villain, bro. I had no clue. So when he showed up and he was like good in that movie, and they like gave him like all this stuff.
That actor is really good, actually.
Dude, and
what happened to the actor? I don't even know if it was the same actor. They turned him British. They turned him like British. And the second he opened his mouth, I was like, "Don't even talk again. You're ruined." And I was just mad with it. I
remember him having a little bit of an accent, I think.
But it wasn't that bad. It wasn't like that. It's like they completely scratched it. It's like he remembered in the back of his head when he came to do that. He's like, "Oh yeah, I had kind of like some twang on my voice, huh?" And then he like overdid it. It's like he never looked back at the clips that he did for the Lizard. And he just went like all new. I was so pissed,
I don't think it was
dude.
the same guy, dude.
I don't even think it was the same guy.
I think we might have to move on.
Dude, no, I could be on this for 2 hours because I'll end it here.
Dude.
Besides Lizard, every other villain was done incredibly. Like I was super like, it's everything we needed. Like we knew Green Goblin could be even crazier, and like he was crazy in the other movie, but this was like targeted and it was good and it made sense. Like this made sense.
Mm-hmm. This
Doc
was like
Ock,
real split personality.
Doc Ock is like is exactly what I expected. Like especially after all the Spider-Man games and stuff. Like this is like the Doc Ock I was thinking of. Like it went perfect. He did get rolled, and I think that made sense. Like his tentacle things ain't that impressive. And then Electro, they did super good. His mindset on everything was like a bit all over the place for me. Like I thought that was kind of like he kept swapping. Like he was kind of just like craziest follower like you could ever have, and it was just like swapping.
Pretty
He's like,
much.
oh, who do you think's gonna win, basically?
Yeah.
And yeah, I was like, what is this? And then he was like the guy who just like picks whoever, like he's like the guy who would pick the team that Tom Brady's on to like win the Super Bowl. Like he's that guy. Like he's always going for like the best team or whatever. It was annoying, but I liked him. He looked super good. Gave him some great scenes. He got redeemed. Sandman, and it's Sandman. Like
I didn't
think
understand Sandman.
I think actually had like the most, like his motive made the most sense because he just wanted to go home.
To his
like
daughter.
to his
There's
daughter.
some good depth to his character.
That didn't make sense to me at the end, actually, though. Like he was a good guy, and then like at the end, he's just like, "Yeah, I'll kill you because I want."
Yeah, he was never. I mean, also Doc Ock, like the two of them, like they were never. Oh, and Jamie Foxx, his Electro, like, really all of them.
All of them.
All of them were
Yeah,
never
dude.
really bad guys at heart.
So I think motives got a bit mixed towards like the climax of the film. Like I think that was the one thing I had was like towards the end, like I think Electro and Sandman like kind of go all over the place. The lizard, I would have been confused, but they turned him into a senseless monster. So I was just like, oh, okay, like this makes sense. Like, like it shouldn't have made sense, but it did because of how dumb they made him. But yeah, other than that, I think everything was great. Like, and again, to end what I was saying, Green Goblin, I think, is the best villain in the MCU so far. Like, I love Thanos, but I think Green Goblin. I think
would say
Green
he's
Goblin's
like
the best for me.
You might
super
be right.
villain, dude. I think he's like better than the Joker. Like, I thought that performance by Defoe was like.
Now every like fan cast that people make where they want him to be the Joker, it's like, oh, I see what you're talking about.
I've heard
like,
people talk about that too,
I've
that
seen
he would
so
do a
many
good
people
job.
I've seen so many people fan cast him. I'm like, well, there's your proof. I'm like, you do great.
Yeah, it was a fantastic job, dude. Yeah,
it was an amazing job.
Yeah.
So then we
just
we don't really have to talk a whole lot about the spell. Comes and goes. I mean, I guess what we can say is, I never really expected Doctor Strange to be a big part of it. I mean, and also I do think that people are kind of like overlooking Benedict Cumberbatch. He always does good. He plays the role very well. Yeah, consistently, and he's just an amazing actor too. Especially in Sherlock. If you guys haven't seen that show,
oh yeah,
definitely watch.
Yeah.
Dude, Sherlock.
Dude, I gotta watch it. Well, all I know
is
I walked out of that
that's
theater,
great TV right there.
Yeah, we walked out of the theater. My mom was like, "I love Doctor Strange. I gotta go see his movie now." And I was like, "Of course."
But yeah, so he always does good. I wasn't expecting him to be in it very much, and we didn't see him a whole lot. But yeah,
we saw him when it counted.
That was good.
Except for the fight with the lizard, that would have counted. But
I also don't need a whole lot of magic in my Spider-Man movie. You know what I mean? Like he served a purpose really for the MCU. It was kind of like the catalyst that like sets everything in motion with the multiverse.
Yeah, I think they did a good job with it. Like compared to a Doctor Strange movie, like I think they leveled it down to a point where like it didn't need to be crazy, like magical. Like like what do you get out of it? The portal gun that he made him, and then that fight that they had, in which I thought that was just like a cool moment that they set up for Peter. Like I thought that worked out really well.
Cool little Inception moment there.
Yeah. And he got beat with science. Yeah. So I was just like, yeah. So I think that worked out. But yeah, I think it came in like when it mattered. Like it wasn't crazy, and so I thought that was good.
Let's talk about the fight. That breaks out before like one of the really big scenes in the movie, but. The first fight between Peter and Goblin. What do you guys think of that? When Goblin turns, and Peter gets the Spidey sense and
WWE's him through the building.
yeah.
That was a straight up WWE fight.
Oh, I loved it, dude, because I think it really set Peter up right there to because if you really watch that scene that you just talked about with Doctor Strange and him fighting, you know Doctor Strange could have ripped him apart, but he's pulling his punches, right? And so Peter, he's not really pulling his punches that much in that scene because he wants to save these guys, but Peter totally pulls his punches with Green Goblin in that scene, and I don't think Peter's ever really had to like not pull his punches, really, if that makes any sense. Like I'm trying to think. There really
Well, I feel
isn't.
like he's never really throwing a whole lot as far as Tom Holland's Spider-Man. He's never throwing a whole lot of punches in his movies.
That's true.
But that's the thing. He didn't even thwip like once in that fight. Like he didn't do that. And so that was also the thing. As I was wondering, I was like, I don't think Goblin. Like I forgot that Goblin was like basically like a super soldier. Like he was insane.
Dude,
but
yeah,
I was like, he shouldn't be winning that bad. And that was, remember, I was like, this is also coming from the Goblin that May had just told Peter to like be good to and all this, and he was like some old man, like all like disheveled and like like hopeless, and now he's going to town on him, and I'm like, I thought it made a bit more sense after I thought about it like that, but even then, like that Goblin fight was pretty sick. I think it worked out well. I do think one of the things that I was wondering why they kind of ditched it was like the whole Goblin mask deal. But I think it worked out better because then it's just like you never knew what side or like what mentality Goblin was in.
Right.
Because like when he's in that first movie, it's like, oh, he has the mask on, he's crazy. Like he's crazy now. But the fact that they ditched the mask and then he was still crazy afterwards would just like showed like how messed up he was.
And it was also reminiscent of his, original suit in the show too.
Yeah.
In the show, he has more of like this cap.
A hood, like a hood.
Yeah, but it's like really pointy.
Like an elf.
Yeah,
like a green elf, like a flying green elf.
Like a flying green elf.
But no, what was cool is that it was kind of a callback to that his suit, him wearing the hood, and then the aggression that he had, especially in this, stood out to me. I always talk about the Ultimate Spider-Man comics and stuff, but it stood out more like that, which was cool. Which in Ultimate Spider-Man, he is like a mutant. He's like a mutant goblin, and he's quite a bit bigger than Peter, which is actually it's actually what the
Spider-Verse,
Mm-hmm.
the Norman Osborn in Amazing Spider-Man is supposed to be. He was supposed to be more like that. Goblin,
like mutated.
That's why he had those super long nails and stuff.
Yeah, it's gross.
But yeah, it's like they found like a really good blend of like all these different elements in like Spider-Man history to bring to this movie, which is really great.
One thing I did think, I wish when he pulled up in like his first scene, like when he's fighting Doc Ock on the bridge, he looked so cool, and they polished him up like so well. And I was actually really hyped to see him like that more in the movie. That was the one thing I wish they did more, is because they made him look super good. Like whatever CGI and stuff, it looked perfect. But yeah, no, I think they still did a really good job with him. But that was one thing I liked, is the more I thought about it in the movie, it's like that was your gauge in the first Spider-Man as to if he was crazy or not. But once you get rid of that mask and it's just him, it's like you never know. Like he's like both sides. And so when he when Peter literally like almost passes out because of Spidey senses, like I thought that was like super cool, because it's just like you don't know anymore. And
dude, that was like the most intense scene when that first happened in the theaters. I was like, oh, like who? Like, and I had a feeling it was Goblin, because right before that he's like, just me, right? And you're like, okay, like this guy.
Yeah, exactly. They kind of gave it away with that.
But I was like, okay, like once he flipped him, dude, I was like, this is not going to end well for anybody in this room right now. Like,
yeah.
Oh no, and it just, dude, that was I don't even know how long it was, but that was one of my favorite fight scenes I think I've ever seen, because Peter Parker, dude, he just did not stand a chance, and he knew it, and he was trying to escape like the whole time. Like he wasn't even trying to fight him. He was like trying to get out of there and like help May. But like he just got destroyed, and I was like, dude.
It was definitely, I felt like with every hit that he was getting hit with, it was like just like telling us like this is definitely still more of like a Spider Boy than he is Spider-Man, which I think we'll talk about more when we get to the end of the review, which I think where they go with him, it like reaffirms that he's gotten to the point where he can now say that he is Spider-Man with the ending, but we'll touch back on that later. But of course, when you know the battle ends with Aunt May dying, and we got to talk about it.
Not like this.
Did you see
it was a
Don's
crazy
face?
scene. It was a crazy
Yeah,
scene.
you're like smiling.
You like didn't want it.
No, it's just like we got to talk about it. We have to.
I knew she was dying.
You didn't think it was that great, Jake?
Okay, I'm just Andrew Garfield Spider-Man for whatever reason has way more range and hits me way more emotionally. For whatever reason, Tom Holland, it's kind of like hit or miss. I don't know if I just can't really take him that seriously. Maybe I don't know what it was. I was sad for Marissa Tomei, obviously, but then I didn't cry. That wasn't the scene that made me cry. Like,
I cried.
Bawling my eyes out. Like I might have gotten teary-eyed, but I did not cry at that scene. Like I don't know what it is about Tom Holland.
Yeah, I got teary.
It hit me. It hit me, but that wasn't it for me.
Yeah, I think we all have the same scene though.
And I do agree with that.
I want to get to it.
I do agree with that. Andrew, which we're going to talk more about this.
Yeah.
Andrew,
dude,
he does emotional scenes very well. We will talk more about that. But I still think Tom Holland did such a good job, especially in moments where like he didn't really have to say a whole lot. Everything that he needed to convey was in his eyes. Which there was like one scene in particular when Zendaya MJ is telling him that it's a good plan, just like next time run it by us, and like Tom has like this look like in his eyes, you just like see how much like he loves MJ and is like, this is the person for me. Like she's like so understanding, and like she just gets me, like that sort of thing. Like you see all of that in his eyes, like how much he cares about her, and he does that multiple times throughout the movie. I still think he did a really great job in conveying those emotions too.
Yeah, I think kind of like what you said, like I think Andrew Garfield gives you it's like a burst of like emotion, that you're like expecting. But I think the stuff they did with Tom Holland, it was like just the scenes even afterwards, like how like defeated and everything like that went like super well. And it's like you could just tell by looking, like they didn't need to do any like dialogue. And it's like even like he barely said anything, but I thought that scene was super. The angles and everything in that scene was exactly how Iron Man died. Like it was the same angle. Like when they're looking at Marissa Tomei, it's like the same side of the face, like she's all laid back and everything. Like it was the same as Iron Man Endgame almost. And I was like, whoa. You know? And I just thought it was really like I thought the cinematography and everything of how they like viewed all of that and the scenes after worked really well in their favor. But
I saw those parallels too because it reminded me a little bit of Pepper also when Tony dies in Endgame. Because Pepper tells Tony like we're gonna be okay. It was a little bit different, but of course Tom is telling her also. Peter's telling her it's gonna be okay, but I feel like he's kind of going because just such a intense moment, of course, and so he's going through all these different emotions, and it felt like he was going back and forth between like I need to be strong for her and reassure her that everything's okay, going from that to like wait, this can't actually be happening. and so yeah, I thought it was a great job, and definitely still really hit home for me too. Also, I think when Happy pulls up and he sees it all, like that was really intense. And then you see like all the police like turning on him and like shooting, and I thought like we were gonna get Peter just like going all out, like he was gonna like
I thought it was
let the
too.
rage get to him, and I was like, go off, dude, do it. Like take him out. But
Kill mode or whatever.
yeah, like yeah, exactly. Because enough is enough sometimes. I thought he was
Yeah.
gonna do it, but he just left.
With what you just said too, dude. That's what got me. Like that's when I started tearing up more.
Oh, with
And
Happy?
that's when Happy showed up and he realizes like what's happening, and he's like, "Just get out of here." And I was just like, "No!" Like, and then you get shot, and I'm just like, "Oh, like what are you guys doing?"
So that was your moment?
That wasn't my moment.
Oh, okay.
No,
Oh, no,
but
it's
Alright,
not.
we'll
that
get- we'll get
in
there.
that scene, that was the moment that got me teary eyed when you see Happy pull up and he's like, "Dude, like he knows." And
Yeah.
I felt really bad for Happy. But okay, I gotta say this. I don't know if you guys caught it because you guys have seen it once. You guys are gonna go back and watch it again. The thing that really threw me off that whole scene and why I didn't like really feel it was Tom Holland when she first starts dying turns and like looks away, and you don't see his face, but you hear him say like, "Hey, I need help, like I need an ambulance," and it does not match up with the scene. Like it just did not feel right at all. So when you go back and rewatch it, go and look at that, and it seems like they almost took that line from like another movie and just like threw it in there because like they didn't.
I'm actually not gonna look for it.
Don't
when I
look
see
for
it
it.
again.
It's gonna ruin the whole scene for you. It ruined it
Exactly.
for me. Yeah, but but it was good. I like that scene. It was sad, dude. It was sad. The scene after that was even more sad.
Yeah, but even
with him
before
in the
that,
rain.
we go over to Ned's house, and this is where, of course, another huge moment that we have to talk about. Anything noteworthy before they open up the portal for you guys? Or should we just jump right in?
Everything was covered by the portal opening. Everything else after.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so
the other thing that I was talking about that really was kind of sad was when he's standing there, and it almost looks like a video game, and it's so beautiful, and he's like,
that's what I was talking about. I was like, that's like perfect.
Yeah, and like J. Jonah Jameson's like just giving him business, bro, and he's just
right,
like, and he's just like, dude, I do not feel good about myself at all. And that was a really impactful scene.
Yeah, that's noteworthy too, because of course he's really feeling. Well, I mean, he's a kid, and he's learning like that he has to like live with these mistakes, but also he's feeling guilty about something. You could argue whether how much he should feel guilty about it or not. Like, but he's just feeling like intense like amount of guilt, of course, going on there.
Yeah, it's bad.
But yeah, that was a great scene. Visually looked really good.
And with your question, I didn't like how Ned just had magic. I loved his grandma, her aunt, or whatever.
It's made of magic, dude.
Lola, Aunt Lola, Grandma Lola, whatever her name is. But yeah, I mean, it just like totally undermines everything that Doctor Strange did in his movie. So I was just like, okay, like, all right.
I mean, I feel like they hinted at it a little bit. It was definitely convenient, and I think in a whole lot of movies there are convenient things in the story.
Yeah.
But yeah, they kind of hinted that maybe there's something going on with like his ancestry, that he has powers.
Mm-hmm.
I think the good thing is like I was worried about that too, like how easy they made it, and I thought they're just gonna leave it like that. But at least Doctor Strange acknowledges like later that was like somewhat impressive that he like had gotten it done or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it's just because when he was holding it, he was like, maybe I should look like I'm using the Force. And so that I thought that was funny how instantly when he starts using it, he looks like he's trying to do a Jedi mind trick.
Yeah.
And that's how it looks like in Doctor Strange when he's like doing it. But I think that's funny just because of like the feeling he had when he's doing that. Like, who knows? He might have just accidentally gotten it,
Both of them are so good in this
Yeah.
movie too. They're good in all of them, but
Mhm.
they especially, both Zendaya and then his name is Jacob, they both like really stepped it up too
Yeah.
for this one. But yeah, let's get into it. He opens up the portal. I was telling Ethan yesterday, or like just the other day, we were talking about the movie immediately because and he felt this way too. Like we just knew like immediately with the eyes
That Peter
on the mask.
Parker
Dude,
was
I did
not
not
close.
hesitate. Yeah.
I turned to wave and I was like, that's Andrew right there. But
Yeah.
and the other thing too is like his Andrew Garfield's movies, it's like called The Amazing Spider-Man, but his suit and a lot of things in that movie are based off of the Ultimate Spider-Man comics, and he has the Ultimate Spider-Man mask, and I'm like, that's Andrew. That's it. And he
Yeah,
comes in, he takes off the mask. My theater goes absolutely nuts, me included. I'm yelling.
Everyone
I
was
don't care.
screaming
I was
when they
yelling.
saw the eyes. Like that what I was
Yeah.
saying is I didn't when I went to go see the movie, I was like, I might not get the other Spider-Man. So I just left that completely out of my mind, and everyone started freaking out like the second the portal opened. And because yeah, you can just tell by looking at it. But yeah, it was insane. Like I the seat was literally shaking. It was insane. But
And I'm just gonna say it right now too. Like I've kind of gone back and forth a little bit. Toby has always been in last place for me,
Whoa.
and I don't think it's as much of a hot take now.
That's pretty hot take, bro.
But for me, Andrew Garfield is my Spider-Man.
Oh,
Like,
and it's not
hands
even
down.
people. We want to say last place is such a bad thing, but between these three Spider-Men, they're like casted almost perfectly. Like they're super good. Like they're all really
They
good.
all fit very well
Yeah,
in their own universe.
and like they're all. And I think that's one good thing is I think a lot of people in the past have like talked about how these guys seem like too. I think the funny thing is like Andrew Garfield always seemed too cool to be Peter Parker, and Tobey Maguire was like too old to be him, and they kind of like it's not even acknowledging it. It's the fact that they're next to Tom Holland, and he's such like a kid in comparison. Like it all makes so much sense. Like seeing them all together, and I'm just like, yeah, I thought it worked out perfectly. But I love them all. But that's the thing is like if you're gonna rank someone, it's like, oh well, Tobey Maguire's in last place, or Tobey, it's like there has to be a last place, but that doesn't mean it's bad. Like, like I still love those movies. I still love his Spider-Man. I loved it in this movie. And same with Tom Holland, same with Andrew Garfield. Like I kind of like what you're saying. I love Andrew Garfield like a lot because I do think he's too cool to be Peter Parker, but he's really good at Spider-Man. Like I think he's really good. And then he has like those nerdy moments, like where it's like, oh, okay.
I mean, he's still a nerd, and he's still like definitely.
Yeah, who said a nerd can't skate?
Like a loner.
He seemed like exactly. He seemed like such like a darker Spider-Man in a way, and then it'd be like, okay,
that's Ultimate Spider-Man too.
Exactly, and then they acknowledge it in this movie, like his whole background after they're like he went rogue, like he was just going and like he was just all like vengeful.
I know, yeah.
And I'm like, I think they did that perfectly because that's exactly what I expect out of Andrew Garfield. Like that's exactly what I expect. And then we're gonna go talk about Tobey Maguire, who's like, I don't know, actually has stuff figured out with MJ and like his life somehow put together. It's like that's exactly what I'd expect.
That was great too.
Because he's not a kid. Like he's not a kid. And so I think the way they like showed the differences was like perfect. Because it's exactly what I expected out of all three of them. And so that's why I was like super happy with the way it ended. Is because it wasn't them pulled straight from like when they fought the villains in this movie. It was like them. Tobey Maguire fit his role as like the dad Spider-Man, like needs his back readjusted, all this stuff. Like that was like that was him. That's what I expected and wanted from him. Andrew Garfield was like, don't do what I did. Like, don't be who I am. Like he fit that role because you expect that out of him. And and then Tom Holland was just like this kid, and it worked perfectly.
Yeah, I was gonna say too, like in a way, I've heard plenty of other people say this too, like at, like from that moment onward, like Andrew kind of stole the movie in my opinion. um but again, like Ethan said, like someone has to be in third place. I still think
Hashtag.
Toby did so good, and like I was so
Yeah.
surprised how much I enjoyed seeing him in this movie, um to the point where I was kind of like, this is like what we're seeing in this movie is like why other people, like for them it's their number one, you know what I mean? I could kind of like see that more, like he just did such a great job as well, and the
Yeah.
chemistry between the three of them, and like I laughed so hard at certain parts, like
Yeah.
the youth pastor joke was so great.
Dude, that was yeah, oh my gosh.
It was so good.
It was so good how it's like they seem so different because they're from different times, and it's like the things that make them different are things that are like they're more like variable. Like it's stuff that happened in their lives that made them, like Gwen like die and all this stuff. Like that's what made Andrew's Spider-Man, and then Tobey Maguire, like his was for the same, like different reasons, and it just like worked perfectly, and they all had their, it all fits so well. But at the end of the day, they're all Peter Parker. Like they're all those nerds. Like they're those nerds. They're like all about science. How they're like almost being like they're like talking and stuff about what's gonna happen. Like, oh, how are we gonna cure these people? And then
Yeah,
they
that
like
was
they
great.
get like fed up with each other, like they're trying to flex or something, that they could like get this guy's cure. He's like, oh well, I've already cured him once before. And it's like, yeah, it's like it was just like perfect, and they're just like, oh okay, like they're actually smart, like it's like level playing field.
Mhm.
And
Yeah, and the
so
whole like, let's go kick some butt. No, let's go cure some butt.
Dude,
Like that.
yeah.
That whole thing was awesome
I
too.
laughed so. Dude, first of all, too, like that. Okay, I gotta bring it back because I have to say it. The one thing that hit me, since we already talked about, was the emotional scene. He stopped pulling his punches.
Oh yeah,
I
we were
need
getting
to.
there. We were getting there.
Oh, you're getting there. Okay, guys. I
No,
thought you
but I
guys
mean,
glazed
yeah,
over it.
yeah. Jump over there. This is where they go to find Tom Holland's Peter, right?
But yeah. So when they do that, yeah, dude, that was the moment that was like I cried my freaking eyes out, hearing how Andrew Garfield just like lost all of his hope, dude, after Gwen died in his arms, like, and hearing him say, like, he didn't say this verbatim, but this is what he said: "I killed people, okay, like I murdered people with my fists because I was so angry and rageful. Like,
I
don't
don't
do
know
that."
about that,
He's like,
but
I'm vengeance.
You don't think, dude?
Right.
He 100%, dude. He was 1000% killed someone. Like he lost it. And honestly, there was a deleted scene that he might have been referencing where, in Amazing Spider-Man 2, he actually beats his friend Green Goblin like basically to death
Oh, yeah.
before he
Yeah.
sends him away. So that was a deleted scene. So maybe he was referencing that,
Oh, okay.
but he I don't know. I was like, I gotta watch this guy's movie. Like they have to come out with something because I need like a darker tone Spider-Man.
The
for sure,
Amazing
but-
Spider-Man 3 hashtag
Yeah.
it.
I'm
It's
all
real.
for it. We'll start it. We'll
Dude,
start
people,
it. Right.
no, it's already started. People
thing.
are going crazy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Dude,
People
yeah,
are
they
going
said that he already
crazy.
has a third movie. Like people are like, he's talking to Sony right now.
Yeah,
Bring him into the Sony.
Yeah, I was like, they're gonna give him a third. I was like, they can run both Spider-Man with how different they are and still be successful with it. I'm
Yeah.
like, I didn't see them doing it because they're also so different too. Like they're so unique, and then they're so different.
And I was gonna say, like anyone like who's experienced loss, like you go and see these moments, especially like with the three of them, like all talking about their different loss. Like you can see it again in their eyes, like and I think Andrew like definitely stands out in this way, like getting his emotions across very well. And like for me too, Jake, it was when he said that it made him become bitter. That's what like really hit. I was like, yeah, man. Yeah. Because that's real life.
Yeah.
And that's what's crazy too. It's like we're talking about like a comic book movie, but like just what's so awesome is like, deals with like these heavier subjects and just like brings it home for us. but even right before that, I also have to say that like just like that moment when the three of them, MJ, Ned, and Peter, like, or MJ and Ned, just went to hug Peter for a minute. That was so good too.
That was good
Like,
scene.
dang. Yeah. I mean, this is probably the most emotional Spider-Man movie.
Yeah. I was crying for like 20 minutes straight.
Is it the best Spider-Man movie? Because yes, I think it is.
Behind Amazing Spider-Man 1. Yeah.
Of course. But behind Lizard. Behind Lizard.
Yeah, not even. Lizard takes the cake.
I can't. I'm going on a rant for like another hour, dude.
Yeah.
This, for me, it's like, it's neck and neck. And also I gotta go back real quick and say, like, Tom Holland is like just like closely second place for me with the Spider-Man after Andrew. But this movie is neck and neck with Spider-Verse for me. I still think Spider-Verse might be number one, but I'm gonna see this a couple more times soon, and we'll see.
No one got crazy hyped when they saw Spider-Verse, because like Spider-Verse, that's exactly what you expected. It's called Spider-Verse, and it's like
cool. Well, also not as many people were gonna go see an animated movie, which is
a
loss for them. It's a loss on those people, that don't like give animated films enough credit.
Which a surprising fact, I didn't know this, but the animated Spider-Verse movie had the lowest box office opening weekend than any of the Spider-Man. Like by far, I'm sure. Like substantially a lot. And I was like, wait, what? I thought that movie was like...
But I'll tell you guys right now, the next one will do much better.
You think so?
I'm calling it right now.
2099, he's coming in. He's gonna just...
I'm calling it right now because everyone who sees it, whether they waited, they probably waited. A bunch of people probably waited till later. Like everyone loves that movie. It's just, it's so good.
One of the best soundtracks ever.
Absolutely.
True. And best like art style for an animated movie I've ever seen. But
shout out to Post Malone and Juice WRLD.
True. Rip. I just think they're both so different, and that's good, but it's I like how Spider-Verse did their thing and it was like animated, right? So it's like they could go like crazy all out and everything. But I think the way they did this movie and changed it towards like what we wanted it to go to, like towards this like Spider-Verse or whatever, in a way, like they did it perfectly. Like they brought it in perfectly. They redeemed everyone. And like they redeemed almost everyone, and it went super well. Like I'm really glad with it.
Who didn't they redeem?
Okay, we need to wrap things up here pretty soon. So we will get into like the last section of the movie and go through that a little bit faster. But for the live viewers and people watching on the replay, definitely drop down below, leave us a comment, let us know what your rating of this movie is, how you enjoyed it, what your theater experience is. Just let us know your favorite scene too. But yeah, join the conversation. We'd love to hear about it. Love to hear from you guys. But yeah, so speaking of like just incredible scenes, once they finally team up, especially we're gonna jump into like when they fight like all the villains, when they finally like get their plan going and like get in sync, and that scene when they're all like swinging and like working together, that was awesome. I was like, man, what am I watching right now? Like they really did it. Like they really brought all of them together. Yeah, this movie's so good.
I think, dude, I was telling Dom about this. Every scene in the trailer that people thought was like messed with and like wasn't the full like scene, everyone was dead on. Like it was like all the fan edits and everything that people did, like for when they're all on like the Statue of Liberty's head, I think it was like exactly the same shot. It like all this stuff, like when Tom Holland's swinging through, it's like, oh, I see it. Like I see Toby down there. Like it's all the same stuff. Like I think it's just so funny. I was dying laughing that like everything was spot on, because it's like when they're doing this movie, it's like it shows how geeked out they are. It's like the people that did this and the way they wanted it and everyone else wanted it, they matched it and then exceeded it. It's like everything that we wanted got like exceeded. Well, almost everything that I wanted got exceeded. And so I thought it just went like perfect. And like I could have never I could ask for more, but I'm not going to, because it was everything I wanted. And so
Yeah, and
yeah,
you
they
kind
did
of
insane.
you kind of touched on it, but it's like this movie elevated the other Spider-Man movies and the other versions of Spider-Man too, with those moments of redemption as well. And for Andrew, it was him catching MJ. I think a lot of us guessed that that's what was going to happen.
I
It was so
cried.
good. It was so
I
good.
cried.
It was so good.
I cried.
That was the second part where I just started bawling.
I
was
actually
like, "Damn!"
I actually cried.
I was
After Aunt May died, like just like through the rest of the movie, I could hear people crying the entire movie.
Dude, I think it's funny. Like, I thought they were just gonna like he was gonna catch her and they were just gonna end it there. But like they legit stayed with that scene for like the perfect amount of time.
Yeah.
And like Andrew got to get his cries out and he was just like, yeah, yeah. And like it just went, it was like perfect. Like the way like that redemption alone was so good. And that's what I'm saying. It's just it was like literally perfect timing. Like that scene they did perfect because they wanted that. Like everyone needed that. He needed that. And so I'm like, I don't know how they don't do another Spider-Man movie after, like, for Andrew after something like that. Like, it's insane.
Yeah, and I have to take a quick second to say it. Like, I rewatched both of the Amazing Spider-Man movies not too long ago.
I'm glad I didn't.
And I think they're pretty good, actually.
Dude,
they are good.
They're like the best Spider-Man story. Like the movies are terrible, but the actual Spider-Man, I think
they're not terrible though. They're not great.
Perfect.
They're not great, but
the first one was really good.
Dude,
I think both of them are pretty good.
The Wizard was great.
The first one was better. There's just so many great things and so many great moments, and like the acting is never, well, a couple of times it's a problem, but for Andrew and like
for Andrew it was never
and Emma, like yeah. But yeah, I mean that's why that worked so well with him catching MJ too, is like that's just like an incredible scene in Amazing Spider-Man 2. Like that's like one of the redeeming things if people want to say that it's a terrible movie. That's such an amazing iconic scene that felt like just like straight out of the comic books too, and like heartbreaking. But yeah.
But that's the fan service that we want. Okay, that's
exactly
legit fan service. You know, that's like, dude, like that hit so hard. And now that I hear,
and it's like relatively obscure too, like compared to what everyone wanted. Like everyone's just like, oh, we want 3 Spider-Men, but it's like they delivered and then they exceeded that. And I was like, this is like, these are those things that I thought was just perfect. And yeah, it went super well.
So yeah, let's jump forward a little bit more, still kind of like along those same lines. Toby has his redemption moment as well. Of course, we do want to talk a little bit about the battle, like the final battle between Tom Holland's Peter Parker, or Tom Holland's Spider-Man, and Goblin. I thought that was really well done. I mean, he's just he's definitely letting the rage take over, and he's completely winning this fight. And he tells him, like, I'm gonna kill you myself, and he's about to end him with the glider. And it was just perfect, Toby jumping in there to stop it. It was perfect. Jake, tell us about it.
Yeah, it was pretty freaking awesome, I gotta say. Like when he jumped in, you kind of knew that was gonna happen. Because him and Andrew looked at each other like, he's gonna kill this guy. Like we need to do something. But it was actually that whole fight scene and seeing like them, like each of them fight in their styles or whatever was really cool. And I gotta say, like, maybe we didn't think Green Goblin was so strong because Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man is clearly like the strongest Spider-Man, I think, out of all the Spider-Mans. Like, I don't think anyone can question that. So when he comes in and he stopped Tom Holland was like this, and he was like, nah, dude, like just chill, bro. Like you're good. Like don't do it. Like, dude, and he even tried again, and he was like, dude, like come on, like don't. The look on his face was really good. Tobey Maguire's face when he's like, dude, like come on, like that was a good scene. I can't believe he got stabbed. And they didn't.
Everyone thought he was dead. Everyone thought he was dead.
They didn't go anywhere with it. Yeah. And I was just like, what? Like,
huh? I saw that, and then I was like, these guys get stabbed all the time. After I saw it, I was like, he's not. I was like, everyone thinks he's gonna die because I honestly thought Tobey Maguire was gonna die. Like going,
I did too.
When I saw him, I was like, I can see him dying because I'm like, they're not gonna use him for another Spider-Man movie. I don't think,
but
they could.
This is noteworthy.
What?
This is not.
Yeah, go for it.
Sorry, I was just gonna say this is noteworthy because the rumors are right now is that there's talks of Toby and Andrew being in Secret Wars, which would be really awesome. I would love to see it. I'm not, it's just rumors. At the end of the day, I feel like
what happens with rumors?
I feel like
WandaVision?
I feel like
Sony
still has the last say with both of those characters.
Hey, they see easy money with that, though. They see easy money with those two guys.
Dude, and they made 75% of the cut.
Dude, I know. It'll make so much. But I personally don't think we'll see Tobey Maguire for any like long distance thing. Like
he's
do
not
think
acting a whole lot, really.
Yeah. So, but I was like, they're gonna keep Andrew. Like they can definitely do stuff with Andrew right now, and Andrew's down for it. Like he's constantly talking about how he would want to do Spider-Man, and so I'm like, I thought Tobey Maguire was gonna die, and then I'm like, these guys get stabbed all the time. This is fun. Going back to like Lizard tore up, like everyone gets torn up, and I was like, what? Tom Holland got thrown through like a whole building, got WWE down a building like 40 minutes before. I'm like, I'm like, Toby's fine. I think the banter they had, like him and Andrew had, was like perfect. Like he's like, it hurts, huh? He's like, yeah.
That was so perfect.
You're in so much pain.
Yeah, because they all know the pain. Like they all know the pain.
They've all been stabbed, bro.
Yeah, they've all been stabbed like that.
We didn't even talk about the back crack scene.
Oh my gosh, dude, that seems hilarious.
Oh,
you know what? Talk about the organic webbing scene either.
Oh, we didn't. And I have to say, the other thing that really got me was that scene where Toby kept telling Andrew like not to talk bad about himself. Like, you're amazing. You're amazing.
Yeah. The other scene that made me crack up so hard in the middle of the theater too was when Toby tells Ned that his best friend died in his arms moments after he tried to kill him. And so Ned has this like whole awkward thing for like the rest of like the 10-minute span.
Yeah. And now everyone's going to that movie talking about him being Hobgoblin. Like is
that who he is in the comics?
Yeah,
I think it is, right?
And so everyone and he's just like, I promise I won't kill you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They did.
I promise when I get my magical powers, I won't turn evil and kill you. But dude, now he doesn't know Peter. It's total good opportunity.
So he could kill him.
I would love for him and MJ to get together. No, to get together. And
then, I thought that's what they're gonna do.
And then him be like, "Oh no, like I'm Peter Parker. Like I'm your best friends. Like you guys know me." And then him be like, "Dude, I don't know you. You just took my girl. I'm gonna kill you." And then like that's it. Like just set it off, please.
That's all right, the next 3 Spider-Man movies.
Hopefully you guys have just a couple more minutes. We will wrap this up with the ending. Of course, they do another spell, and everyone is going to forget who Peter Parker is. Thought it was a great moment. And really, I think what was awesome is just like it felt so much like Spider-Man because he's always very similar to Batman. Also, we kind of joked about that earlier, but like there are a lot of similarities between those two superheroes, and both of them are very much about sacrifice. I guess most superheroes are, but like I think for them it's like very noticeable. But yeah, just that moment and him having that willingness, and also it it worked very well again with the other two movies, and he was kind of starting to see like even though he wishes a lot of times that he could have like the normal life and just be a kid, like that's not the role that he's stepping into. It is a role of like dealing with loss and having to sacrifice a lot of things that he wants in order to help the people that he cares about. So I thought the ending was perfect, honestly, and the scene where he goes in to see MJ and Ned, and he's about to tell them, and explain everything, and he's like, "No, can't do it." He sees that they're happy, and I think they got into college, right? Is that right? Yeah, and
Yeah.
he's like, "Nope, I
They got
can't
into
do it."
MIT.
Dude,
Yeah, I'm
and
not gonna do it.
everyone forgot who Peter Parker was, so he didn't get into MIT either.
Yeah, there's some. They need to
They just
explain
forgot.
some things that's going
Yeah.
on here because it was a little kind of confusing at the end.
So
But,
that was
you know.
great. And then you guys got to tell me if you felt this way too. He, of course, gets his own apartment, and it looked very similar
Right.
to Toby's. Was that the
Right.
same guy? Was it the?
No, it sounded a
similar.
little bit, but it wasn't.
But the apartment
The
looked.
vibe.
Yeah, the apartment looked
100%.
very much like Toby's. Also, he's got the police scanner.
It looked
the
exactly
radio.
like his and like the Spider-Man
In
video
this-
game.
I thought it was like Spider-Verse.
Yeah, kind of. I was thinking of the video game, and like it was the exact same in my opinion. And
We get to see the new suit.
dude, the
also.
new suit is dope. I've seen some people like go and like
Oh.
they screen grabbed it and everything and like slow mode it.
It's a little shiny, a little on the shiny side.
No, I love it. I love it, dude.
I love
It's
it.
I
cool.
love it. I think it's perfect, and it's like exactly where it should be. Like, I think it's great. I think it'll be more like Spider-Man, and he's not like all teched out and everything.
Right,
Like,
exactly.
Yes.
he's not like relying on Stark tech, even though the integrated suit in this movie where he had the gold like symbol on him, I thought was sick. Like, I loved that. Because I thought Iron Spider, like that
Yeah, me
suit's a
too.
bit. I think Iron Spider's a bit too much sometimes with like how shiny and there's like too much going on. Like, but that suit was like perfect almost. And yeah, I love it. It looks super cool. Like the chest piece looks like the perfect combination of Toby's and Andrew's. Like when you slow it down, it looks so cool. It's just like classic, like Spider-Man almost, and
So good.
I'm so hyped for it.
So good.
But
All right, guys, let's we give our final thoughts. Let's rate the movie. Let's do it, Jake.
Ooh, I give it a 9.8 out of 10. Clearly some flaws with Lizard that I have discrepancies over with Ethan. We could talk about all day, but I love the movie. It was such a great movie. It was the first movie that I felt personally that was an MCU Spider-Man movie, which it really wasn't because Sony had a lot of control with whatever they were doing. But it was the first Tom Holland Spider-Man movie, and we finally got to see him lose things and kind of grow in his movies instead of just being handed things and being kind of told what to do or mentored, right?
Yeah.
So I
he got
love this
babied a
movie.
lot in the other
He
movies.
got
like,
everything handed to him,
by what, Talos or whatever, or like by Nick Fury and Iron Man, like in the other movies. Like this was like his movie, like through and through.
Yeah.
Like Doctor Strange took an actual backseat in this movie, I feel.
Yes.
Like, where it mattered
Yeah.
compared to,
So I loved it. It was a great movie. First Tom Holland Spider-Man movie, it felt like. Excited to see where they take it. I don't know what's going on anymore, so I can't wait to see what's next. But yeah, great movie.
Ethan.
I'll give it like a 9.5. I'm trying to think of how much the Lizard is worth to me. Like, everything else perfect. Yeah, like I think that was my only disappointment with the movie was Lizard, honestly. Like I think everything else in my opinion was like perfect. considering everything that was going on, and like all they did, I think worked out really well. Like for me to say pacing was awkward and not bad is an insane compliment to a movie like this with like everywhere it went. Like it's
For how
hard to do that.
ambitious it was.
Yeah, for how ambitious the movie is, to say the first part of the movie was awkward, like that's nothing. So I think like a 9.5. I want to give it a 10, but I actually care about the lizard. Like I actually care what happened with that. So
Yeah.
like a 9.5 for me.
No, and I like that. I didn't know we would talk that much about the lizard, but like,
dude, I could do a 3-hour show on the guy.
I definitely feel the disappointment now too. I'm sure I'll notice it even more next time I watch. But yeah, for me too, 9.5 I'd say. And yeah, I mean I would say for people that haven't seen The Amazing Spider-Man in a long time, those aren't flawless either, but there is a lot of good things about those movies too. There's a lot of good scenes and
like the lizard,
good performances,
like the lizard.
Yeah, with the lizard. But yeah, love this movie. And if you guys haven't seen it, well, I don't know why you're watching this. Also, if you're, well, there are people. If you're going again, definitely be safe out there. I just can't wait to watch this at home though too, you know.
I know.
If only I could watch it.
Oh, and I do believe that Ned and MJ at some point will remember Peter.
They have to.
Oh, dude, there's so many directions.
We'll see.
I want to see Peter go to his own college in New York, have them leave, or maybe have him leave.
I want to go to like community college and work at Feast.
Or like just go to like a different college, like
deliver
go to a
pizzas,
community college, and then go to college. But I want to see Gwen. I would love to see a Gwen in this universe, and I would love to see a Norman Osborn as like a college kid, not as an adult. And so Peter grows up with this guy, like knowing about Norman, the Green Goblin that he almost just killed, and like kind of checking up on this guy.
And I want
like
to be James Franco.
I was gonna say that that would have made things better.
I thought it was coming. I thought he'd be the 6th, dude. I thought there'd be dude. The whole movie, I was waiting for a 6th, so they have to do it. They have to do it.
Flying in on his snowboard.
Oh, we didn't say that too.
No, Sinister 6
with the lightning thing.
Another
with the last. Or right before the last spell with the lightning and stuff in the clouds, you can see a couple. Like I think you see Rhino. I hear people.
I only saw
Scorpion.
Rhino.
I think Scorpion's in there. Possibly another Mysterio. Guys, check that out too if you go and see it again.
That's why we need the movie at home so that you can pause it and watch it. When that happens, there will be so much more like to go through.
And if you guys go again, stay for both of the end credit scenes. We'll talk about. Did you guys
like the end credit scenes?
I thought I didn't care for the trailer. Like, trailer's cool, but there was a trailer. Like, we'll get that in a month. Like,
maybe we'll see Venom later on. It would be cool. I want to see the black suit. I want to see it done well.
I want to see Tom Hardy though, dude. That's the thing. I want to see Tom Hardy with this Spider-Man. I don't really care as much for a whole Venom like suit.
You don't want Topher Grace to come back?
Okay. And on that note, I am gone.
You don't want Tom Hardy to fight Andrew Garfield, bro?
I want him to fight them all. And after that Topher Grace comment, I definitely have to go. That is a conversation that never needs to happen.
All right. I got to let you guys go. Thanks, both of you, for being on the podcast today for the review. Hope that we'll get to all do another podcast soon. Yeah, guys, for upcoming stuff, I am going to be doing a Hawkeye review. Going to do kind of like the whole series at once. Ethan and Jake, if you're available to be a part of that, that'd be cool too. We can plan something for that.
Doing a Lizard 2-hour special on everything that went wrong.
We should also do an episode kind of more about Spider-Man 2 and like, you know, where does Spider-Man go from here? Like kind of what's next. Give us opportunity to even talk about more stuff with this movie that maybe we weren't able to touch on today. But thanks everyone for tuning in, and we will catch you guys next time.
On the flippity flip.
We'll see ya.